ethics is basically important for the management studies.
Excuse me, sir.
And yeah,
Sorry to disturb you. Can you start recording, sir? Oh, it started.
okay.
रिकॉर्डिंग चल तो रही
Let
है.
me check if I
It's
can. I cannot start because it is.
रिकॉर्डिंग चल रही है.
it's a recording started.
Yeah, it
Okay.
is. Yeah, it is. It is
Start
already
recording.
started.
$5 हो
Okay.
गए चले हुए.
Okay, class. So, let me introduce myself again. Like I have already taken your two lectures. So, my name is Dr. Ankit Goel, and like I have more than 10 years of experience in corporate, and I'm currently working in Agile Technologies as a financial manager. So today's lecture is about how business ethics is important for the managers, because in every organization there are some multinational companies, or there may be Indian companies or the government companies, or even if you join as your private business, how ethics is important, or how ethics plays an important role in your organization. So let me start with my content. Okay, importance of ethics for managers. So basically, first we need to know what are ethics. Ethics are related to behavior, how you behave in an organization, how you answer different questions, or how you handle the different situations in the organization is basically related to ethics. So So let me tell you, ethics means, or ethics helps in basically defining or determining what is right or what is wrong. So ethics may be defined as a moral principles that distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. So basic standards, there are basic standards around the world that dictate basically, or that let us know what is right or what is wrong, or I can say what is unethical in terms of business practices. So for example, let me take an example of environment. If your organization, the working condition in your organization is uh, not not proper, or you can say is not is not like that where people can work, or you can say unhealthy working conditions are there in your organization, then it is basically considered as unethical, because they put all the employees in danger because of that. So let me explain again. If there is unsafe working condition in your organization, that would generally considered as unethical practice because they put workers in danger. You can take another example also, like if your workplace is crowded heavily, like you cannot move from one place to another freely, and there is like only one fire exit is there. So in case of emergency or in case of fire, you cannot protect yourself or secure yourself from that fire. So these are also one of the examples of unethical practices which are, which basically on the part of company you work in. So determining what practices are ethical or what practices are not unethical basically is more difficult to determine if they exist in a gray area. So actually, what I want to tell you here is what are ethical or what are unethical. There may be some confusion, like some of you can think this is ethical, or some of you can think this practice may be unethical. So there is a gray area between that ethical and unethical part. So how you find that gray area? For example, let me take an example of this gray area. For example, there are two companies, company A and company B. Company A usually buys goods from company B. So what company B do? Company B uh, sent their executive to company A so that they can take a requirement what they are going to purchase from company B. So companies B's executive goes to company A, and how company A treated companies B executive, they provide them a five-star accommodation, a good meal, and all the fun activities. Like they have provided some chips for casinos and all, so that the individual which is coming from a company is happy actually. So some will think that the services which a company is giving to that individual or an employee may be unethical because it will lead to get the order. But some will think, yes, this is just to make the employee happy, not we are not thinking in a other way. So it all depends upon the perception whether it's a ethical or unethical. So it this situation is in a gray area. Basically nobody can judge which like either this practice is ethical or unethical. So this is example. Otherwise there are some activities or some like some thing which is properly ethical or unethical. But there are some gray areas also where we need to think either it is a ethical or unethical practice. So let me explain you further. Like you will come to know what I am talking about, what are ethical, what are unethical, and what is a gray area. We will continue with our presentation and you'll come to know after that. So, ethics has twofold objectives. It evaluates human practice by calling upon moral standards. So, whatever the human practices they are doing, the employees are opting for, is they are according to the moral standards of the company. If they are not according to that moral standards, then it is unethical. Otherwise, if it is according to the moral standards, it is considered as ethical practice. It may gives you a perspective, advice how to act morally in a given situation. So basically, ethical or ethics is to know what is right or what is wrong in the organization. So let me go forward. I think ethics from Western perspective, basically how they define ethics. They define ethics as moral principles about right or wrong, like to judge what is right, what is wrong. Then the honorable behavior reflecting values. There are always, when you will going to work in a company, there are some values of the company which you need to follow. If you are not following that values, obviously this is against the ethical practices and the standard of conducts also. Then honesty, openness, responsiveness, accountability, fairness, due diligence are the core ethical practice. So what I'm saying before, one all one there are some practices which are surely be ethical. There are some practices which is surely unethical practice, and third one is between them. There are sometimes a gray area. So obviously if a person has to be honest. If he is not honest, then it's an unethical practice. So if he is honest, then it's an ethical one. So honesty, openness, responsiveness, accountability is basically we can judge a people whether he's doing a ethical practice or not. These items or these you can say the performance, or you can say these behavior of an individual or of an employee, of an employee can be categorized as ethical or unethical directly. There is no gray area in these behavior. Like if we talk about honesty, openness, responsiveness, there is no gray area. We can decide directly, even if it like either it is doing a ethical or unethical one. So, ethics are a branch of philosophy with no clear cut definition or what behaviors are ethical or which are unethical when judging one's behavior. So, let me give you example to explain this. Like in US, it is allowed to take a alcoholic drink with a customer in a particular company if that company allows. So it is a ethical practice there if the company objectives or company values are allowed the same. But in India, it is completely, you can say, unethical. If you are having a alcoholic drink with your customer in a office premises, it is completely unethical. So it depends on philosophy. Basically, it depends upon the culture, like where you are working. It depends upon the region where you are working, what are ethical and what are in unethical practices. There is no journal or global consensus. There are no general rules by the government. But yes, there are always rules from your company in which you are working. Like after 3 years of studies, if you are going to a company to work for, and you look for like the trainings, what activities are accepted in my company or what are not, these are basically always available. These kind of trainings are always available in every company or organization you will work for. There is no usual universal measure or standard as to what constitute the ethical behavior. So this I already discussed with you. There is no universal method or standard which we can say these activities are ethical and these are unethical. Okay. How ethics are related to economics. So, philosophers and writers view ethics as a matter of choice. Like how it's a matter of choice, like two-person from different culture, from different region can take one situation as ethical or unethical depending upon their thinking. So it's a matter of choice. You can choose, or you can like you have your own perception, and maybe it is different from other person. So that is why it is related to economics, because it is related to choice. Individuals must make choices in their life, and this is important to note. Businesses don't make choices. Choices are made or implemented by individuals within the economic enterprise. So business doesn't make any choice. But yes, the employees or the persons who are working for that business can make a perception or can make a choice. That is why ethics is also related to economics. People in government make choices. People in education institutions make choices. People in businesses make choices. People in churches make choices. And everyone is forced to make choice. And even the choice not to choose is a decision. So, what it means? It means there are some company standards. So, yes, you have a right to choose, but you have to comply with with your company standard in which you are working for. So they are always company standards which you must comply with. Next is, what are the factors influencing the ethical behavior of a person? So there are some legal factors, organizational factors, and individual factors. So what are legal factors? Like sometimes, uh, s- sometimes you can say, um, legal interpretations or the contemporary values or the standards of the company may be not met. Like for example, if you are doing manipulations in your accounting books, or you are doing manipulations in representing your profit or cost of sales of the company to to the analyst, and you are basically publishing that books on your website, the manipulated books on your website, so it will have a legal impact. Like yes, tax department will sue you in the court because you have followed unethical practices, you have manipulated your books. The second is organizational factors. Like if you are not following your organizational rules or organizational values, then it is also considered as unethical practices and they can fire you anytime. And then the individual factors also, like the the family in which you live in, or the peer or the colleague of yours in your company, so they are basically from different values or different culture, they are coming from different cultures, so their values, morals, or family influences, peer influence, life experiences, they may also considered they may also influence the behavior of the person. So they sometimes you have also seen there are friends who take you in a like bad situation, but some friends are those who always guide you for a good situation or always guide you for doing the ethical work. So these are the individual factors which influencing the ethical behavior. Let me take example of ethical issues which generally got generally got in any organization. Like first is conflict of interest. Conflict of interest is basically when you talk about your plan or the goals of the company. Like if the company has a goal to grow by 10%, and there are two owners of the company, one is saying we need to increase our revenue by 10%, but other partner is focusing on increasing the operating profit, or you can say are focusing on decreasing the cost of sales. So there must be a common goal which on which all the people of the company is working. So there may be conflict of interest, like one has a different goal and other person has a different goal, and they do not basically work as a team. Then this conflict of interest arises, and this is one of the ethical issue which generally got got a stand in any organization. Then there is quality control issues. Like if you are working in a manufacturing company, and because to gain some more profit, you are using low quality raw material, then this low quality raw material obviously will has a effect on a final product. And if the final product is not up to the standards as the customer want, it will raise a quality control issues and it is completely unethical. Then there is discrimination is in hiring and promotion. This you will see many times in your career. Like there may be discrimination on the basis of gender, male or female. There may be discrimination on the basis of culture, like if a person is from Srinagar and the other person is from Delhi NCR, obviously like you will see like managers are discriminating based on their culture also in promotion and hiring, maybe in their caste also. Like so this is not acceptable at all in a multinational companies or even in the big private limited or public limited companies. You cannot you cannot discriminate the hiring process or promotion process by the culture or the caste or the religion of the person. The next is the misuse of proprietary information. So what is proprietary information? Who is the proprietor? Basically the owner of the company. And proprietary information is about the assets of the proprietor, or how much proprietor is taking money to his home, like what we call drawings, or you can say the misappropriation of accounts. So if there are misuse of that proprietary information, that is also unacceptable. And one thing more, like what the proprietor do sometimes, they think their employees as a slave. Like if, like in a lala company, if you say, they think what they think, yes, we, as we are paying them a good amount, then we have to work for like many hours or long hours. This is not actually the case should be, because the misappropriation or the misuse of the proprietary power is also considered as unethical. That is why the labor laws are generated and labor court is formed to help the employees from the boss, what if he is doing that unethical practices. Then the next is the abuse of company expense account. Yes, this we have already talked about. If there is misuse or the misappropriation or the manipulation of the company expense account, either it a P&L or a balance sheet or a cash flow statement, and you are publishing that misappropriation or the manipulated accounts on your website, yes, it's a legal issue, and legally you can face some challenges because of this. Then misuse of company assets. This you also saw sometimes in your till your age, because in your life basically, like some people use their company assets for their personal purpose also. Like if the company has given you a car for their or for your official purpose, but you are using that car for your personal purpose, or you basically using your car for your kids, for your wife, so that is also not allowed, because this is unethical. The company has given you that car for your official purpose, not for personal purpose. Then there is drug and alcohol abuse. Sometimes, like in many companies, every year they float some party or an annual event, and while consuming some alcohol or a drug in that party, and you are abusing the managers, and you are you may be abusing your colleague, so that is also not acceptable. And you may lost your job because of this, because this is this is against the company's value, and this is considered as completely unethical practice. Then environmental pollution and environmental destruction. Any activity which impacts the environment, which has basically destruct the environment, is is unethical in the eyes of law, in the eyes of company, and should be unethical in the eyes of the individual who is doing that. Because to save the environment is very important these days. Even if you know, I think all you know, even you cannot cut a single tree if it is there in your premises also. You cannot cut that. So to save the environment is everyone's duty, and if you doing something which has a negative impact on the environment, definitely it's a unethical practice. Then the next one is ethic at workplace business ethics. So workplace is basically the organization where you will be working. So there is an increased interaction between the board of directors, audit committees, internal auditors, external auditors, employees in general regarding ethical conduct in the workplace. So what I told you before also, there are always there are some trainings when you will join the organization, when you are joining a new organization or the already established organization. There must be some trainings which will guide the employees, owners, suppliers, and all the stakeholders basically of the organization, like how to behave, how to follow the company values of that particular company. So, business ethics are most simply described as a process of promoting moral principles and standards that guide business behavior. So, you should follow the moral principles or standards which a company has formed. So, if you know, there are some companies where even taking your mobile phone is not allowed. So, if you are taking mobile phone like in a pocket without any permission, then it will also considered as unethical. But in other companies, it is allowed, so it is considered as ethical. So, it always depend upon that company's values or the company's standards in which you are working. So these are some findings done. These are some research done by Deloitte. Like what are the key factors which promotes ethical workplace? So the factors on which you have to focus on to promote the ethical workplace. So first is management behavior. So if your manager of or if your management is behaving unethically, obviously you will go or you will also behave unethically. But if your manager or the management is always focuses on ethical behavior or ethical operations, then obviously you will also motivated to do the same. The next one is direct supervisor behavior. So there may be the cases when the company's values are very good and company's executives, the company's owner, CEO, CFO, your business lead is amazing. Like they are always following ethical practices, but your immediate superior or immediate supervisor, your manager is not doing that ethical practices. This has also leads to like promoting unethical practices in your organization, because you will feel demotivated in these situations and you will also follow the same. Then the positive reinforcement, the positivity among the organization, the positive, how positive your workforce is also helps in promoting ethical workplace. Then the compensation. If you are working so hard and you think your compensation, the company, the pay which you are receiving from your company is not as per your work done, then obviously like you will go for unethical practices. But if the compensation is good, if the payment you are satisfied, like yes, what you are receiving is as per my work done, then you will also promote the ethical workplace or the promote the ethical practice at the workplace. Then the behavior of peers is very important, because the persons whom you are working with should be ethical person, because if they are doing the unethical practices, you will also motivated to do so. But no, you have to reject that person or you have to comply with company's values and the standards. Then there are another survey or the question, why people make unethical practices, what are the reason they are doing these practices. So the reason may be lack of personal integrity. If the person is not like basically no, if the person doesn't have their own moral values, like for example, if the person always saying lie in front of others, so how it's possible, like he should be honest, and honesty is the best ethical practice in the organization. So lack of personal integrity will lead to people make unethical decisions in their life. Then the job dissatisfaction. If you are working in an industry in which you are not satisfied, yes, you may sometimes do unethical practices, but yes, For the company, it is not acceptable. Then the financial rewards. So sometimes what happened is you are putting 100% of your efforts, and you are not getting like appraisal, or you are not getting basically a financial rewards in your company. Like for example, you have put 100% of your effort, but one of your colleague got that employee of the year tag. So sometimes you will feel so demotivated that you will go for unethical practices. But what I suggest you, or what the company suggests, please don't go for unethical practices, because this will result in loss of your job also. Then the pressure to meet the goals. Sometimes you will see in the marketing companies there are some targets which is given to you, like you have to complete this 20 crores of sales in 1 year, or like you have to sold these many insurance policies in a month. So these pressures will also um, like demotivate the people, and they will go for the unethical practices basically. Then the ignorance of code of conduct. This is most important. If there is no code of conduct of the company, then yes, sometimes people doesn't know the company's values, and they will unfortunately do some activities which is unethical. But this is not their fault, because they don't know what is right or what is wrong. This is basically, we are talking about that gray area which we have started, which we have talking in the starting of the presentation. Then there are some that accepts causes incentives conflicts. So incentive conflicts is basically when you are not getting as per your work. So high level of stress when you are working 14 to 15 hours in an office, and obviously you will be very stressed. So you need some incentives, but you are not getting the same. So this will also lead to have an impact on ethical practices. Then the long hours. So long hours, as I say, yes, you are working for so much long hours, so you need something, you need some incentives for that. Then the fast paced environment. Like if you see, life is very fast these days. If you are working in a company, you will what you will like a salary hike, or every person is running for getting that project done so that it will increase their appraisal cycle. But but sometimes you feel so demotivated when you not get that incentives what you are expecting. Then the inflexible schedule. This is also a major reason, because now in India also, like there are many multinational companies, many multinational US companies, UK company, Australian companies, and sometimes company calls you for a morning, early morning shift, like which starts from 4 a.m. in the morning, and sometimes company calls you for the European shift, which starts at 12 noon in the afternoon, and sometimes company calls you for the US shift, which starts at 8 p.m. in the evening. So these flexible, so much flexible timings or inflexible schedule, you can say, will also need some incentives. So some of the companies which I know, which are working, where the employees are working in the night shift, they are basically getting the incentives for the same. They are basically getting 5,000, 10,000 per month additionally for working in these kind of shifts. But the person who is not getting the same, obviously they will always dissatisfied. Then the highly competitive environment. Today's environment is very competitive. If you see your colleague in your company will put always try to put you down, always try to uh, always think for himself only, not for yourself. So there is highly competition or the competitive market these days. This is also need some incentives, or if you don't get incentives, this will lead to dissatisfaction. Then the next is the results pertaining to questionable behavior in the workplace environment. So sometimes some situations they have talked in these result, like when your owner or your CEO of the company or the management of the company will check you uh, for the ethical or unethical practice. So first is stealing the petty cash. So sometime what accountant do? Accountant who has basically maintaining that petty cash account, like every month, owner is reimbursing their accountant for by 10,000 rupees so that they can handle that petty cash, but they are overstating that petty cash expenses, and they are basically for their personal purpose. So this is completely unethical. Then second is cheating on expense report. So this we have already talked about. Like if you are manipulating your accounts, maybe your P&L, profit and loss account, or balance sheet, or cash flow, so it will always have a legal impact. Then taking credit for others personal accomplishment, this you will also faces when you will work in an organization, like someone other has done the work, and like and the credit for that work is taken by other person. So how it's possible? Because sometimes a person doesn't talk much, he is basically doing the work, but other person who is talking, who has a good relations with their managers or the management, he tries to take the credit with the credit of the work which other person is doing, but this is actually unethical. Then the lying on the timesheets about our worked. So uh, in this work from home situation, in this COVID-19 pandemic situation, everyone is working from home. So what the company expects? Company expects if you are working from home, you should complete your office timings. But sometimes some people, what they do, even in my team also, they make themselves available on the basically Cisco Jabber or the chatting portfolios, but they are actually not available. So obviously if you are working for an organization and organization timing is saying like you should work for 8 hours, and you are not working for even for 4 hours, then it is considered as unethical. You should complete your working hours in your organization. Then majority believes that following actions are acceptable. So what actions are acceptable? Use company technology for personal use. So in this COVID-19 situation, like what is happening basically, people are using their office laptop for their children, for their studies, but some companies allows it, but some companies, obviously the banking companies which has very critical data, they don't allow. So if the companies allows that, then it's okay, but if the company policy doesn't allow that, then it is considered as unethical practice. And sometimes you will see like in your organization, a person or an employee is taking a sick leave without actually being ill. So this is a general tendency. If the person wants off for the day, they told their managers, or they'll tell their managers that I am not feeling well. But but you should not do that. If you need an off, directly ask them, yes, I am stressed out and I need an off for the day. So please don't be lie to your manager. Then sometimes you will see there's a person is dating his subordinate because he creating a pressure on that subordinate. This is completely unethical. then you are asking your companies for a personal favor, like if you completing my work, I will give you this. So this is also not acceptable. So now what is business ethics? Business ethics are basically has been identified by the types of business, or what are the types of business and how their actions are evaluated. So it can be like it can be defined in four levels, or four different levels. Is first is society level, then is industry level, then company level, and then individual manager level. So what is society level? Society level is basically which defines ethical behavior and assesses the effect of business on society. So does your work which you are doing is having an environmental impact? If it is having an environmental impact, obviously it is related to that society. Then the industry level, which suggests that different industry have their own set of ethical standards. So every industry has their own set of ethical standards. So every company, it is important for every industry to make some ethical values which their employees can follow. Then the company level, under which company have their own set of ethical standards. In the like society have their own standards, yes, like you doesn't, your work doesn't impact the environment, for example. Then the industry has their own standards. If you are working in a pharmaceutical company, like obviously no defects can be allowed in any medicine. Or you can, if you are working in a airline industry, yes, there should be no you can say defects, or you can say no, not a single negligence is allowed. Everything should be perfect. Then the company level, there should be which company should follow, and all the employees of that company should follow that standards. And at the individual level, obviously, like we have talked about honesty, we have talked about your responsiveness, we have talked about your accountability. So these kind of behavior is expected. So, one feasible way to judge ethical behavior is to focus on determinants of business ethics and behavior such as corporate culture, incentives, opportunities, and choices. So, this we have talked about, like one feasible way how you judge whether this is ethical or unethical. It is based upon corporate culture, incentives, opportunities, and choices. And we will discuss in detail here what is corporate culture. Corporate culture is basically which a company should promote as per their values, and incentives are basically which individual is getting as per their work done, or which is provided to the individual in terms of rewards and the performance evaluation process. So it is obviously business ethics depends upon corporate culture, incentives, and then the opportunities. Opportunities is every person wants to grow in life, in career, so there should opportunities, or the internal controls, or the enterprise risk management which can reduce the opportunity for unethical conduct. So what I'm trying to say here is, like there should be clear set of guidelines, or there should be clear set of standards which an employee should follow. So there, an organization mm, doesn't or must not give any opportunity for to their employees so that they can go for unethical practices. Then the choices, individuals are given freedom to make choices, unusually choose those will basically not, or maximizing their well-being. So you can choose as per your choice, but yes, you have to keep in mind the standards which you need to follow for your organization. Then what are the attributes of an ethical culture? There should be a sense of employee responsibility. You should act responsibility to, or you should act responsibly to your organization, or freedom to raise concern. There should be always open door policy. If you are finding a situation where which you need to discuss with your managers or the management or the senior managers, then there should be open door policy, so that you can go without any fear to them and discuss that matter. Then managers modeling ethical behavior and expressing the importance of integrity. Managers, like in a year or in a half yearly basis, on a half yearly basis, should discuss with their employees what is basically ethical and what are the standards of that company. Then an understanding by the leadership of the pressure point that derive unethical behavior. So for example, harassment is considered as completely unethical in any organization. So leadership or the leaders or the senior managers of your company should communicate that these are completely unacceptable in our organization. So the process is to find and fix their areas of pressure. So these are basically six principles and the business ethic conducts that you should be accountable to your organization. You should do best practices. You should accept the laws and regulations of your organization. Then the internal reporting, the management reporting, what the numbers you are showing on your website should be correct. You should provide the sufficient training to your employees, and you should comply with the written code of business conduct. So with this, I come to an end of my presentation, and I am open for any question if you have. So please ask question. I will surely answer. I'll surely try to answer that.
गुड आफ्टरनून सर।
हाँ जी, good afternoon.
सर आपने अटेंडेंस डाउनलोड कर ली ना?
Maybe I'm a guest faculty, so it is downloaded by your organizer.
ओके सर, थैंक यू सर।
They will download after the closing of session, maybe.
यस सर, यस ओके, थैंक यू।
Yeah. So please ask if you have any question, or we can close this session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Okay,
you,
thank
sir.
you so much. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
yeah,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
thank you. Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
okay,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
sir.